Assalamu alaikum and welcome for another Jummah with Qalbumaryam, Women's Mosque. I had a lot of plans for what I thought I wanted to speak about for today, but it sort of switched up. And it switched up because of things that are happening in my mind in terms of what I went through as a convert. So today we're going to talk about converts, conversion, what it all means, how it all works. Doesn't matter if you're a new convert at this point or if you converted 20 years ago. Basically, these are just some things that have popped into my head and things that I find that are important to share. And a lot of them, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about comes from questions I've been asked by other people. I've even done shahadas with people. But let me start at the beginning. Okay. What is it that makes someone want to convert? I've heard all sorts of stories. I've heard, I love the sound of the azan. I heard the azan and decided that it was a powerful spiritual message to my heart, or it just drew me in somehow, and I wanted to explore more and decided to convert. That's one of the things I've heard. One of the other things is someone gets in a romantic relationship with usually a man, okay, that's Muslim. And his criteria is that the woman be Muslim so they can marry. Well, you don't have to be a Muslim to marry a Muslim man. You just need to be a believer, which is one of the three Abrahamic faiths: Christianity, Jewish, or Muslim in the first place. Okay, so you don't really have to convert to marry a Muslim. That's not true in all of the religions, however. So anyway, moving forward, I've also heard where women have a fantasy or fixation on Orientalist ideas about Arab men, not necessarily Muslim men, because we know Arabs can be Christian, Arabs can be all sorts of religions. But in our minds in the West, when we see an Arab, we think of Islam. Well, a lot of women, some women, I should say, travel the Middle East, watch a movie, however she develops her romantic ideals, and decides that this is for her, that her life will be complete and perfect when she marries an Arab man. And therefore, becoming Muslim for her is a step closer to her goal. I've seen a number of those as well. There may be reasons beyond what I've stated why people convert, and that's fine. Everybody has their own private inner ideas about this, and it's not up to me to state. So when we think about conversion, we think about movement towards something, or taking something on, or becoming something. People even use the term revert. It became very popular at some juncture to say, oh, I'm not a convert, I'm a revert. And here's how I feel about it. You can have your own feelings. I'm a convert, I'm not a revert. In my opinion, to revert or reversion is returning to, like revolve. It's going back around and coming back. At my basic beginning in life, it was Christian influence, heavily Christian influenced. So therefore, I didn't revert to Islam because I never knew Islam. I am a convert, which means I moved away from Christian culture. I moved away from Christian religion. I moved away from all of that into Islam. Okay? That's a convert. Now, some people like to get very esoteric and it's like, well, everybody is born a Muslim. No, nobody's born a Muslim. Nobody. Okay? In my opinion, no baby who comes into this world has a religion stamped on their rear end or on their foot. No, we come into this world, the free agents that God created, and it is our parents or other loved ones who bring us in to the culture of religion, because of course little children don't practice anything. And so we're brought into a culture of religion. So if you want to call yourself a revert, do so. I don't care. But don't argue with people who are very happily calling themselves converts and they understand the difference between the two. Okay? Now, conversion is not a one-stop shopping deal. You may take Shahada today, but what happens those moments, those days after Shahada? You're alone usually, or you're at work and you're wondering, am I really Muslim? What do I do? What do I do now? It's not often that we have someone ushering us through every step and every moment of the conversion process. It is a process, okay? Some people dive right in to the deep end. They want to change how they dress. They want to change how they talk. They want to change immediately how they eat. They want to only associate with immigrant Muslims, and they identify heavily with a very immigrant experience of Islam, okay? The reality is that that's not a very healthy way to do it. And I want to talk about why. Anytime we make a major change in our lives, we have to be extremely careful that we're not missing steps in between, because those steps are important in terms of our emotional and mental health. A lot of people convert and will immediately cut their families off. It's like, I can't go to mom's house anymore. She keeps a can of lard and she fries bacon and she does all these other things that are haram. Now, that's not the way that we're supposed to convert. First of all, we are told to honor our elders, to respect our elders, most specifically our mothers and fathers. Therefore, if you become a Muslim and one of your first acts is to cut off family, you've already heaped baggage on top of your conversion that you will deal with at some point. How about looking at it this way? When we convert, right? Our parents and our family members are in shock, usually. And they want to understand, why all the changes? Why do you have to wear this scarf thing? Why are you now wearing these long dresses and covering up yourself this way? Why are you talking this way? You've changed so much. None of us feel comfortable with you. This is why I say that converts should be gradual. The process is gradual. Sit down and talk to your family before you take Shahada and say, you know what, Mom? You know what, Dad, sister, brother? I have been studying Islam and I've decided it's the religion for me. I would like for you all to not understand what that might look like in time. I may begin to wear a scarf. I may begin to dress what I interpret as more modestly. And I want you to understand it is not against you and rejection of you, but rather It is me doing what I feel my spirit has been called to do. You might even explain that as a Muslim, you are expected to keep certain dietary rules. Okay? Let respect your parents and your mother and father enough to let the to it, you know, let the to allow them to say, I understand. I've known Muslims. Our families don't live in vacuums. They really have experienced some things. And so we need to give them the opportunity to let us know you're going to be safe because we're going to do whatever we need to do to make you comfortable when you come to visit. Your mother may not get rid of that can of lard that she cooks everything in. But if you're going to visit home, take your own lunch and let your mother know this is a no offense to your cooking, which you know I love. However, because I know you cook with pork and other things, I just decided it would be easier on you if I brought my own lunch. And I also brought you some so you can sample it. There's all kinds of ways to make it easier. I think one of the hardest things that families go through when someone converts is suddenly that person is no longer at holiday celebrations such as Easter, Thanksgiving, um, Christmas, maybe even the 4th of July. Okay? These things are important for us to still participate in because it is family, okay? You don't subtract yourself from your family. As a Muslim, you may be that only Muslim many people ever come in contact with. Your presence can teach them many, many things. We are not necessarily looking to proselytize to our family and bring them into Islam. Don't think like that. But to help them understand who we are now and that we've brought on another layer, that we have a new religion. The argument is Easter a religious holiday? Well, in its origins, it was actually a pagan holiday. But in time, it became adapted and adopted as a religion, as a religious holiday that is associated with the resurrection of Jesus, which is practiced by Christians. Okay. Now, if you show up to your mother's house for Easter to be with the family, does that mean you're celebrating or honoring a holiday you don't believe in nor practice? I say no, no. You are showing up so that your mother's heart will be good, so that your father's heart, your family's heart will be good. You can eat of the food that isn't pork, because on Easter, ham is very popular, but you don't have to eat the ham. Go and sit at the table with your family. Be the best person you can be and love all of them. You're not there to debate about, oh, this is a pagan holiday. How could you? That's not your business to convert your family. It is your business to stay in your role as a child of that family, as a relative, and to keep your bargain after they've raised you and taken care of you, that you will be there as support and as a part. Christmas has the same overtones. Is it a religious holiday or is it something that Muslims have to avoid? I say no. Once again, you don't go to celebrate Christmas. You don't go to eat the food that you can't eat, but what you do is you take yourself there as your mother's daughter or son. You go there and honor your parents as you always should have, even more so as a Muslim, because that's one of the things we are told and instructed to honor our parents. Okay? Now, If you feel it's offensive, and if this talk makes no sense to you, and you will continue to withhold yourself from these family celebrations, that's your choice. Everybody has to get in where they fit in. But I would encourage you to look at yourself and look at the repercussions of withholding yourself from these functions. Even the 4th of July, which is meaningless in the broader picture, except for it's a time to gather with relatives and loved ones. We have to reserve those connections, especially in the Black community, that this is an important time for us. Our immigrant fellow Muslims may not understand how we are connected to this country and how these holidays have some importance to us as times to gather. They don't get that because these were not holidays in their countries. These are not things that they hold close to their hearts. Be extremely careful. We love our immigrant Muslim brothers and sisters, but we can't let them and their experiences influence us to the degree where we reject who we are and our family members because we believe that we have to become like those immigrant brothers and sisters to be real Muslims. No, we don't. No, we don't. Maintaining as much support as you can will help you to be a healthier Muslim. When you cut ties with everything important, you are also messing up your base. You're also deconstructing your support systems. If you believe that only the mosque and only other Muslims are going to be your support system throughout the rest of your life, you're mistaken. You're sadly mistaken. You have to maintain and you have to make intelligent choices about your life. When we convert, we have to remember it's a process. It doesn't start and end at Shahada. It starts way before Shahada if you're wise. Many people will go online and take Shahada online with the robot. Okay? I don't agree with that because I believe that in order to take Shahada, there needs to be a talk. Someone needs to say, what brought you here? And are you ready? And what studying have you done, most importantly? You must study Islam before you convert. There are some very basic things you need to know. And you can go to any public library and find a book and read about Islam and make your choices. Islam is not a leap, okay? It's a walk. You read, you question everything because at the end of the day, changing one's entire life based on what someone might be telling you in your surroundings is risky. You better go and study for yourself. You better take on the responsibility, the full responsibility of what you're doing with your life. I don't discourage people from conversion. I encourage an intelligent, well-informed conversion. I'll give you an example. When I converted, I wasn't convinced I wanted to wear hijab. I didn't think it was important. I saw it as mostly or mainly an immigrant cultural affectation. I just didn't think it was relevant to me living in the Western United States of America, coming from an urban setting. I didn't see that as being real to myself. I did eventually end up wearing hijab, and I wore hijab for many, many years, double-digit years, okay? And did so happily. I was not upset with wearing it. But at some juncture for me, it became an issue of identity. Who am I? When I enter a room, all people see is hijab. When I enter a room, all people do is make assumptions about this Muslim. people would get so wrapped up in, where are you from? And do you say assalamu alaikum? You just get caught up in all of these things. I preferred to be just seen as me. Not wearing hijab freed me up, basically. Now, some people believe that hijab is mandatory, that you must, and that you're not a Muslim woman without it, that you're not modest without it. I disagree, but you may not. I have nothing against women who choose to wear hijab. Please do. I chose not to wear it. I believe in life, all things are choices. Why? Because my relationship with God is not your relationship with God. When I'm called to judgment, God won't be asking me, well, what did she think about what you were doing? God is only going to be interested in how I conducted myself, how I lived my life, not how you lived and not how you did anything. So whether or not I wear hijab is between myself and my Creator. There are some men, I should say, who are heavily, heavily invested in whether or not women wear hijab. They will fight tooth and nail about it. It is the command, it is the law, da, 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 da. They will force their daughters, sisters, relatives to wear it. In some countries, it's mandatory, not just hijab, but a niqab or a chador. Women don't have any choices. And I'd like to say that in these countries, women do want choices. Some will tell you, oh, I'm so happy, I don't really have an opinion. But what about those women who do? What about those women who don't want to wear it? I would say every woman should have a voice. Every human being should have a choice. And if you don't have choices, that's a problem, in my opinion. So moving beyond hijab and whether or not you choose to wear it, and it's true, if you wear it and you're going to the mosque all the time, I mean, if you make the mosque the center of your life, like I did, I never missed a Jummah, I never missed a zikr. My life was in total sync with the mosque. Everybody doesn't live that way, and that's okay. But you have to be very careful that you're being thoughtful about everything that you do. And I made the mosque the center of my life, and I fit best wearing hijab and so-called Islamic clothing because these were the people that I hung around with. At times I did wonder if I had made this choice or if they had made it for me. Now, mind you, nobody forced me. Nobody, was like, Rabi'a, if you don't do this, we can't be your friend. No, nothing like that ever happened. I was around some very lovely women and men. But the point of my talk is you need to always be mindful of where you're leading yourself in your own heart and in your own mind. And I think for a while I went along to get along, and that's okay too. I wanted to be part of the sisterhood of the mosque and these wonderful women. But at some juncture, I also found it no longer worked for me. I remember after 9/11, reading many blogs and posts on social media of Muslim men who were saying, I no longer want my wife or my daughter to wear a hijab because Muslims are being attacked. Well, if you aren't identifiable, nobody's going to attack you. I continued to wear my hijab because I was like, well, I'm Black. If somebody's going to attack me, they're going to attack me because I'm Black or because I'm Muslim. I don't know which it is. But either way, I'm not giving up something that I've accepted just for that reason. So we have all sorts of discussions you can get into. Bottom line, it's your choice, sisters. It is your choice. Modesty is in the heart. Modesty is something that says, be modest not just about how you dress, be modest about how you speak, be modest about how you comport yourself, be modest about spending, be modest about how you live. Modesty of the body is one thing, and that is just covering up parts, covering up those parts, okay, that everyone covers, okay? I would say chest to the top of the knees. Just cover those up. If you want to cover your arms in very hot climates, some people don't. And I'm not mad at you if you don't, but covering from here to here. Now, here's my only thing. If you're going into a place of worship, any place of worship, or you're going to engage in prayer, I do cover my head because I believe it's respectful. I believe it is the right thing to do. And many, many religions, women cover to pray, men cover to pray. And that's just a show of respect for the God who is our creator and who is above us, or so they say, above. And conversion is a time of trial. We enter into conversion with a lot of hope and some joy, hoping that our lives will change for the better. Some people come to Islam to be rid of drug addictions or to be rid of something that they have done previously in their lives that was detrimental. But by and large, you are who you are. You will be you even after conversion, okay? What conversion does is it exposes you to a different set of rituals and rules to live by. They're as rigid as you want them to be, and they're as flexible as you want them to be. There are some rigid rules in Islam. Prayer 5 times a day, okay? That's set in stone. So you set aside those times and you pray. And I remember when I first converted and I saw Al-Fatiha, and I was like, oh man, I can't memorize this. I did memorize it. I may not have memorized it as fast as some, but I did eventually. Converts have to be very patient with learning a religion that's based in a language that we never hear growing up, okay? The experience of most African Americans, even Caucasians or others in this country, you don't grow up hearing Arabic. Be patient with yourself. Learn it bit by bit, but also learn it in English so that you'll know what you're saying. Never memorize prayers because these are words that are being spoken to God through you. Know what you're saying. So often we get involved as new Muslims in situations of ritual where we learn the rituals, but we don't learn the meanings. We learn how to look Muslim, but we don't know how are we really communicating with Allah, with God. You might want to have someone help you learn the prayers. Set aside time, find a trusted sister or brother to teach you. But be patient with yourself. Also understand this. There's a lot of culture in Islam that has come from our Arab brothers and sisters. We don't have to become pseudo-Arabs to be Muslim, meaning we don't have to use the Arabic language outside of what we have to memorize to pray. We don't. A lot of people will say, Alhamdulillah, or Subhanallah. or shukran, or la shukran. No, thank you. We can say no, thank you, and still be good Muslims. We can say praise God and still be good Muslims. Saying it in Arabic is saying the same thing, okay? But I suppose it helps you sound a little more authentic if you sling around a little bit of Arabic. We have to be careful and to be respectful, not to appropriate someone else's uh, culture and the excuse that, well, I'm Muslim. Wearing thobes, uh, kufis, uh, long dresses, and Middle Eastern garb. That's not our culture. We are people raised in the West, and we don't dress like that. If we dress as our authentic selves in a respectful way, we are still just as Muslim as our immigrant brothers and sisters. Many fall prey to the Orientalist view of Islam, that is, the flowing robes, the turbans, the incense, the music, the this, the this. I did it because I was confused. I thought it was Islam. It's not, okay? We have a Black culture in this country that is very rich, very beautiful, and we need to tap back into it. And we need to bring Islam, if that's our choice, into that without looking like we're coming from the Arabian Nights. There are sisters who will never give up their hijab. There are sisters who will never give up, because it has become so intertwined into their fabric, their core. They may have an African sister that's a good friend, or a Somali sister, or Ethiopian sister that's a good friend, and she wants to be like those women. Well, that's admirable, and there's nothing wrong with that. But have you forgotten who you really are? That we can be ourselves and not be them? There's nothing wrong with emulating a respectful, wonderful, prideful sister that you look up to, but do you have to appropriate her entire culture? We can appreciate the cultures. I love nothing more than Arab food and Ethiopian food. I love Moroccan food. There's so much in these cultures that I respect and love. I love Turkish food. But we're not Turks. And we don't have to look like, act like, talk like them to be good Muslims. Your goal as a convert is to simply be a good Muslim. Find good teachers. This is the final piece. Find good teachers. You will find all kinds of people who will jump up and go, "Oh, sister, I'll teach you Islam." Some men will want to marry you to teach you Islam. Don't fall for that. Usually that's a bid for a green card, or even worse, for some man to add notches to his belt. We don't want that. Don't be in a hurry to get married after you convert. It's very hard not to, because so much of this whole cultural thing about Islam is family. It really is. And when you're a single woman of any race and a new convert, you're faced with the dilemma of being in this pool of unmarried women who people kind of look down on it. Or you can be one of these respectful married ladies with the husband. How do you bridge this gap? It's not easy. There is a limited number of eligible Muslim men who are actually practicing and living as Muslims for a convert to marry. There's an age differential, race differential, culture differential. There's so many issues, right? You've got to be patient. Don't jump into marriages. Never jump into a marriage with a man who's already married. He will tell you, oh, I can have up to 4 wives. Don't fall for it, sisters. Don't fall for it. The Quran says one is better. One is better. Also, it's still adultery. There is not one verse in the Quran that says, oh, you can have up to 4 wives and you're excused from adultery. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. We must be very, very careful with our souls and with our lives. A man doesn't need 2 wives, okay? The whole entire purpose of that verse in An-Nisa is to provide for widows, to provide for orphans, to provide protection of both the money, the wealth, and the physical care of women who had no one to look after them. The only legitimate way to bring an unrelated woman into a family was for a man to marry her and bring her under his protection. It was not meant for sex. It was not meant for him to up, his reputation for marrying a younger and then a therefore younger woman, or to, these things we have to investigate. People will come at you with all kind of wacky interpretations of the Quran because they're after power or they're after what they need or want. I can tell you that many Muslims, immigrant Muslims, do not have 4 wives because they understand it doesn't work. It does not work. Not in the Western interpretation of what a wife is. Because if you come on as a 2nd or 3rd or 4th or 5th wife, you're a sexual object, nothing more. If this man has the money to support 5 wives, why didn't he support the first one better? Okay? He should be investing all that extra energy into her. One is better, as the Quran says. We also have this aberration called a mutah, which is a temporary but halal marriage. A lot of convert women fall into this trap where men will approach them and say, sister, how about a temporary marriage to see how it all works out? Don't be fooled. Okay? A temporary marriage has it is naturally limited. It could be limited to a week. It could be limited to a month. It could be limited to a year. Okay? It's contractual. It also requires dowry. Okay? The worst thing you can do if you fall for it is to fall in love. These temporary marriages are for one purpose: sexual gratification of both parties. No man would ask a woman to be a temporary wife because a temporary wife is not someone who's going to keep house, keep the bank account, meet the relatives, and so forth. No, you're a sex object. The reason he asked you was to have sex with you. And the reason you agreed, hopefully, was also to have halal sex. You're not going to bring, why would you get pregnant in a temporary marriage? If you have a contract for a year, why would you get pregnant? He's going to be gone. Trust me, he'll be gone. You'll be stuck with a baby. And you'll be wondering, like, how am I supposed to take care of myself now? And this baby, all the fun is over, and now I'm left with this situation. Well, I'm letting you know right now, don't get in that situation. True, as, pardon me, take a sip of tea. Living in a secular world, it's not frowned upon for women to have sex outside of marriage. It's just seen as a rite of passage. It's just seen as life. I can't say that's unhealthy. What's unhealthy about it is you have too many experiences, and life, and then your life becomes nothing but a series of sexual trysts with no commitments and no forethought. That's damaging to the spirit. I would say if you are a convert and you have been a convert, say for a year, and you want to marry, I would say that you not just look at the Muslims that surround you, who may be immigrants and naturally born Americans, because the immigrants tend to marry inside their own groups. You can't fault them on that. That's something that they have, and you let. But if you find that there's not enough Muslim men who are willing to marry you, maybe you're older, maybe it's because you're black. That's a whole other topic. Maybe it's because you're not very pretty. It may be the truth. Men do look at the visage. Maybe you're overweight, whatever it is. Okay. You have to come to grips with the fact that either you're going to exist in a situation where there's limited options, become the fourth or fifth wife of some man, or you're going to look beyond Muslim men for a mate. That's a whole other topic as well. Because I believe, given the circumstances, women should be allowed to, Muslim women should be allowed to look beyond this very small pool and age group for certain Muslim men. If you're much over 40, you don't have much to choose from. And I see a lot of sisters in that situation who just give up. They give up. They simply give up. And I hate to see that, because every woman should have a love and a companion in her life, and every man should have a loving companion too. So, as a convert, you should be very patient with yourself, move slow, and learn. Just simply commit the first 6 months of your life as a convert to simply learning. If anyone's pushing you, if anyone is saying, oh, you should have known this by now, you need to understand how to tell people, I'm doing the best I can. God understands, because it's only God I have to please, not you, not anybody. Okay? If a man steps in and goes, sister, I'll teach you how to pray, I'll make you a good Muslim, run as fast as you can. Because what he wants is sex, and then he wants to maybe teach you a few things, but you can learn better by yourself. The ultimate goal is to please God, not man. And to do that, we have to keep our minds and emotional, uh, area clean, clear, focused, and moving forward. And that's all that we can do as Muslims. It's not easy converting. It's not easy moving into an entirely new lifestyle, because it is a new lifestyle. You change everything. Everything changes, and you have to just you've become a student, and you have to live like a student lives. You buy a lot of new books, and you're studying a lot, and you're surrounding yourself with good teachers. Um, and it's just a whole entire process. So be kind to yourselves, um, and learn about the religion. Don't cut off your family. Don't cut off your mother. And don't judge them based on Muslim principles, because they can easily judge you based on Christian or Jewish or whatever principles. Our point is not to be judging people's choices, because this is a relationship with God we're forging. And therefore, it's up to us to make our mistakes and our decisions freely. So, with that, I'm going to end this khutbah. And please, please, please remember, while we're sheltering in place, do your prayers, keep your promises, love your neighbor, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Assalamu alaikum.